Probably one of the most popular style fragrances and certainly one of my favorites. Today we're going to talk about amber fragrances. Hi guys, welcome back. I'm Eloise. I hope everyone's doing great. Today I want to talk about one of my favorite style fragrances, and that's ambers. I love amber fragrances, and I've added so many great ones to my collection, and I wanted to share my thoughts on each of them with you guys. So as you guys probably already know, amber is not something that can be extracted and placed in perfumes to create an amber fragrance. It's basically an accord that perfumers create by combining different ingredients such as benzoin, labdanum, vanilla. And to say amber fragrances is really a general term because there are so many different scent profiles under the umbrella term of amber. Different fragrances take ambers in all sorts of directions. And my collection at this point, I would say, has a really nice mix of ambers so that they're not redundant to one another. So while I can't go into great detail for each of the fragrances, or the video would be way too long, we are going to talk about each of them, why I like them, and how they're different from one another. So the first one we're going to talk about is one that I'm sure you guys either own or have smelled, and that is Maison Francis Kurkdjian's Grand Soir. This one is rightfully so a staple in a lot of people's perfume collection, and I still have a good amount in the sample here. So I feel like Grand Soir is the perfect example of what MFK stands for. So good. And that's this understated, simple elegance, everything about the packaging, the bottle, the scent profile, easy to wear, very likable, easy to reach for. This really is, in my opinion, a great signature scent, and it's perfect for the fall and the colder season. So Grand Soir is an uplifting, clean, fresher take on amber. So you have some sweetness that comes from vanilla, but it never gets too sweet. You have the aromatic touches from the lavender, which give this that lightness and airiness and sort of freshness, and it smells clean at the same time. There's something a little sticky in consistency that matches the color of the juice here, but at the same time, I feel like it retains a lightness and a transparency, which makes it so easy to wear. So you have the warmth from the amber, but then you have the sweetness that never gets too sweet, and then you have this aromatic aspect to the fragrance. It comes off very clean, uplifting, and fresh. It's really a very simple, easy to wear amber. And even though I was hesitant to add this to my collection because of the lavender note, as I say in every video when I talk about this, the lavender came off as masculine, and I had a hard time figuring out whether I could enjoy this. I'm actually really enjoying it, and there's no dent because I'm so busy testing fragrances all the time, but I have worn this and I really like it, and I'm glad that it's in my collection. So Grand Soir by Maison Francis Kurkdjian. So the next one that I want to talk about is also in some ways simplistic, the way the Grand Soir is, and very basic, easy to wear, everyday amber fragrance, but it does do a little bit more than what Grand Soir does, and that is Maitre Parfum at Gantier's Ambre Russe, which I still have on the test strip for that sampling video that I uploaded last week. So unfortunately, I have a non-spray sample of this. And even though it was non-spray, I did say that I'm considering a full bottle. And I'm thinking that I might want to first test out some of the flankers and some of the other ones in their amber line before I decide on a full bottle, but I really like this. So this is both balsamic, resinous, aromatic, sweet, and what's unique about this one is that it dries down to this really clean, powdery amber. And of the ambers that I'm talking about today, none of them are powdery the way this one is. It dries down into this powdery amber, which I love. I like powdery fragrances. I even like fragrances that have powdery notes. This one is really nice. I would say that it's a little sweeter than Grand Soir, but not overly sweet, never in territory of gourmand. It never reaches the point of being too sweet. It also has aromatic notes such as myrtle and lavender. so it adds this freshness to the fragrance. Then there's also coumarin and nutmeg, so those are other spices that add character to this fragrance. So it's really a nice, simple, clean amber that has a lot going on when you look at the note breakdown. But what you get is this resinous, balsamic, spicy, aromatic, vanillic amber that dries down into this aromatic, powdery, warm amber fragrance that comes off smelling clean. So it has a lightness to it the way the Grand Soir does. And like Grand Soir, it's not an amber that ever gets smoky or dark. It's more of an everyday type of amber. It's more of a fragrance that's easy to reach for, that would be perfect as a signature scent. Yeah, this is really nice, and one, like I said, that I'm considering a full bottle of. Ambre Russe. So the next one is also sort of simple, but has at the same time some depth to it. And I am talking about Amouage Material. The nose behind this is Cécile Zarokian. And this fragrance takes amber into the direction of woods. So this is a vanillic, woody take on amber, essentially. So you have spiciness in here from elemi. You have some sweetness from vanilla and tonka bean providing a warm sweetness. This never gets overly sweet, never goes into gourmand territory. You have a smokiness, you have frankincense. It's this incensey, smoky aspect to the fragrance. And then you also have gaiac wood, and it says oud. I'm not sure how much oud is in here. It's just a really, really nice take on amber. It's very woody, and at the same time, it has that sweetness, but it's a warm sweetness, and the smokiness with that slight incense. So it is simple in a way. It's a simple fragrance to me, but at the same time, it has depth, but it doesn't take the woody aspects or the smoky aspects over the top. So I think it retains a simplicity that allows this to be an everyday fragrance, but I also think it's versatile. So I think while Grand Soir and maybe Ambre Russe give me the feel that they're best suited as everyday fragrances, daily wear ambers, I feel like this one is versatile in that it can take you from day to night. I think it's 100% unisex, as are the other two, and probably all of these fragrances, in fact. I still have a good amount of sample for this one as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and spray it. So you get right off the bat this peppery spiciness, but it's clear that it's a woody amber right from the beginning, in my opinion. And it's smoky right from the outset. You get that incense, but it's not overdone. I just love the burning woody aspect of this fragrance. I like that in the background you have this woody burning sensation. And there's a sweetness that comes through that incense. Really nice. I really like this. So when this dries down, it dries down to a nice, slightly sweetened woody amber. And the woody aspect is a little bit smoky. And what I really like is the balance. That balance between the sweetness and the smokiness and the woody aspects in the fragrance. I like the overall balance of the scent profile. I really enjoy this one. Material by Amouage. So along the lines of a woody take on amber, now we're going into a different territory. Now we're taking it to the next level. And the next one I want to talk about is Rania J's Ambre Loup. So Ambre Loup was released in 2012, so this is not a new fragrance, but yet I feel like this house doesn't really get much love or much attention, although I do see some people talk about this fragrance on their various YouTube channels. Ambre Loup is a deep, dark, smoky, woody take on amber. Take what Material does and amplify it by 3. It is so smoky, deep, dark that it almost comes off as boozy to my nose. So this features notes of spices, cloves, labdanum, vanilla absolute, Peru balsam, gaiac wood, oud, and cedar. It is dark, it is dense, it is smoky. Let's spray this. Yeah, it comes off spicy and boozy. Like that's the first thing that I get. It's like this boozy dark amber that almost has chocolate notes. It's almost as if I'm smelling a wood that's so dark and smoky that it's coming off like dark chocolate, and a dark chocolate that's so dark that it's coming off boozy. So as this dries down, you still have the spicy aspect, and that booziness sort of subsides a little bit, but it's still very smoky, deep, and dark, and the woody aspects of the fragrance are a darker take on woods than Material. So while Material has that woody aspect, here the woods are like so deep and dark. I'm picturing a very, very dark brown, rich wood that's freshly cut. So dense and deep. So this is a fragrance that I picture wearing in the colder months for sure. I can't picture wearing this in the summer. And I think this is a great evening scent. I'm not sure that I would want to wear this as an everyday scent to work. I think it makes for a great evening scent in the colder months. So if you haven't gotten your nose on Rania J's Ambre Loup and you like the idea of a very, very dense, deep, dark, woody take on amber that's spiced and almost boozy, I would try to get my nose on this one. I really like this. I think it's a great fragrance. The performance is fantastic. So this is Ambre Loup by Rania J. So the next one I feel like also needs no introduction, and this is Andy Tauer's L'air de Désert Marocain, which I ended up getting very recently and adding this to my collection. I love this. Even out of the bottle, it just emanates all of these fantastic spices. And even out of the bottle, I get like the dusty aspects of the fragrance. The texture is just so dusty. It's so unique to Andy Tauer fragrances. And I was comparing this one to a Cœur de Désert, which is the extrait version, supposed to be a deeper, denser version of this. Well, it is a denser version of the scent profile, I guess. And I ended up going with this one on the suggestion of Daniel from Seldomly Often. And I'm really glad that I ended up with this one, even though I like that one as well. I feel like it does have the spices, but as it dries down, I feel like it becomes more of a dusty, woody amber, while this one I get to enjoy these other uplifting, airy notes, and in the dry down also get this dusty, spiced amber fragrance. It's really nice. I'm really enjoying this as an everyday fragrance, but I also think it's really, really versatile. I think you can wear this any time of year. I think it can easily transition from a day scent to an evening fragrance. So I think it's really easy to wear, and there's a reason that a lot of people refer to this as maybe one of the best amber fragrances ever created, a reference amber. I really like this. I'm enjoying it. I think I would describe this as a spicy, aromatic, amber fragrance that has this dusty quality to it, some woody aspects as well, and a texture that really does bring you to the air of the desert, which is something very unique to be able to do, to be able to bottle a feeling in a fragrance. I mean, to me, that's a work of art. It's the artistic side of perfumery. So I really appreciate a fragrance like this, and I'm glad I have it in my collection. So the next one is a fragrance that I only have a sample of. I've seen some people talk about this, really liking it, so I ordered a sample, and that is Ambre Russe by Parfum d'Empire. So this one, I would say, is an amber that is dominated by the aromatic aspects and the spices in here. Interestingly, this has boozy notes. It has vodka, champagne, there's cinnamon, there's Russian leather, tea, coriander, birch, juniper, amber, incense, musk. So this amber has a lot going on, very aromatic, very spicy, and I would not describe this as a simple amber fragrance. I think it has a lot going on, and it takes amber into a very spicy, aromatic direction, and I'm not sure that I'm really crazy about this one. I get a lot of cardamom, but there's something about the spices that just doesn't resonate with me, and I feel like it's a little too masculine for my taste personally. It does perform really well. It was projecting off my skin. I was smelling it throughout the day that I wore this to work. So I will say that in terms of performance, this is a great fragrance, and it really projects. And I think if you like the idea of an overdose of spices, you might want to try this one. So this is Ambre Russe by Parfum d'Empire. So the next one is one that I recently added to my collection, and I'm sort of regretting not getting the larger size 100 ml bottle. And this is Masque Milano's Tango. And the nose behind this is Cécile Zarokian. This is a very, very interesting take on amber. And there's a lot going on here. I would not call this a simplistic fragrance by any means. This was released in 2013, so it's not a new fragrance. And there are notes of bergamot, black pepper, cardamom, sambac jasmine absolute, damascene rose oil, there's cumin, there's patchouli, vanilla bean, tonka bean, amber accord, a leather accord, benzoin, musk. So this is an amber, a warm, spicy fragrance. It's woody, it has fresh, spicy aspects to it. But what's unique is this licorice note that I pick up in here. There's something that smells like licorice in here to me. So I'm gonna spray this on skin, actually. So there is some citrus notes right at the opening, but they're never too bright because the fragrance has this ambery warmth to it. You have a little bit of sweetness, you have a little bit of the floral notes that come through, and there's a woody aspect to this. And I think maybe the floral notes together with the spices, the cumin, the cardamom, and then you have the warmth and the sweetness from the tonka beans. I think that it's giving off this dense, honey-like in consistency, licorice type of note to my nose. It's really interesting and I actually love it. So you have an amber fragrance, but there's so much more going on. It's not one of the simple ambers. This is not Grand Soir. This is not Ambre Russe. This is not Cécile Zarokian's Material. This is complex. It's interesting. It's warm, a little sweet. And I like the floral aspects to the fragrance. And I think that is what's coming off like licorice. And the consistency is a little dense and gooey and sticky, almost like a honey. So this is Masque Milano's Tango. If you guys haven't gotten your nose on this, I would try this out. I really like this. And like I said, I almost wish that I got the bigger bottle, which I think has a gold cap and is a little prettier than this. Tango by Masque Milano. So I saved the best for last. The next one is Chanel's Le Lion. So Le Lion, as all of you know, is an amber fragrance, but it's all about the labdanum in here. So it is smoky, leathery, incensey. Everyone describes this as having a little bit of Shalimar in it. It has patchouli. It reminds people of Coromandel, which I also own. And I can totally see the similarities to Coromandel. Shalimar I haven't smelled in a long time, so I'm not sure about that. But emanating out of this bottle are the smoky aspects of the labdanum, and it has this leathery texture. To me, this is the ultimate going out perfume. I don't wear this on a daily basis. I kind of save the juice for not special occasions, but maybe for going out, which I feel like I don't really do all that often. So that's turning into a special occasion for me. I really love Le Lion. It's one of my favorite ambers in my collection. So this has notes that are ambery, leathery, the labdanum, like I said, there's patchouli, there's vanilla, bergamot, lemon. So it opens up a little citrusy, but it doesn't take long for this to turn into a smoky, leathery, full-bodied fragrance that has depth, that dries down into this really great, smoky, amber fragrance that has touches of patchouli, gives it a little depth. So this is the perfect segue into the last fragrance of today, which is one of my favorites as well. And this is Ambre Aurea by Profumum Roma. And people compare this to Chanel's Le Lion, and I would have to agree that there are a lot of similarities, but particularly in the dry down. So I would say that Le Lion has more depth and more moving parts, and it changes a little bit from the beginning to the mid to the dry down. You have some changes that go on. This one is more linear, as are, I think, most of or all of the Profumum Roma's fragrances. They're pretty linear, but they're also great performing, well done fragrances. I really have grown to like this house. I own Suavissima, which is a powder bomb, and I will include that in my video on powdery fragrances. This is magnificent. People refer to this as a reference amber fragrance. I'm dying to get my nose on the other amber fragrance, Fiore d'Ambra, I think it's called. The note breakdown here is very simple. Amber, incense, myrrh. So it's a warm, spicy, balsamic amber. And like I said, it smells like the dry down of Le Lion. I actually did a side-by-side comparison this morning. I have Le Lion on my left wrist. It's been about 5 hours now. Still that smoky, leathery amber. And on the right wrist is this one, smoky as well. I would say that this one, the Ambre Aurea, is sweeter than Le Lion. And I would say that Le Lion is a bit smokier than Ambre Aurea. But they both have that smoky characteristic that make them quite similar. Let's spray this one. I'm not really crazy about the sprayer on this. I'm not sure if I got a defective bottle, but I'm not crazy about the sprayer. And considering the price point, which is over $200, close to $250, the cap almost seems like I could step on it and crush it, but the juice is really great. So yeah, so you don't get the development that you get from Le Lion, and I can't help myself from comparing at this point because of the similarities between the two. But I guess Ambre Aurea is exactly what it's meant to be, and that's a simple amber fragrance. It's warm, spicy, balsamic. It has smoky touches. It has vanillic touches, so it's a little sweet, never too sweet. It's really, really great. I think performance-wise, it's great. It's not a hugely projecting fragrance, which I like. I think that's perfectly fine. It's long-lasting. I smell it on myself the entire day that I wear it to work. I've worn it to work. It's really enjoyable in the colder weather. And I think, unlike Le Lion, I don't reserve it for evening wear or special occasion. I think that it's perfectly versatile day to night. And I feel like the fragrance has sort of a sticky, like beeswax or honey type of consistency to it. So while it doesn't have a lot of transitions, you do get different facets at different times. It opens up a little smoky, but now I'm starting to get like a woody aspect to the fragrance. I'm starting to get a consistency of honey. I'm starting to get the sweetness, I guess, from vanilla. It's a great amber. I really love it. And I wanted to end the video with Ambre Aurea because I think it's so great. I think if you haven't smelled it, I think that you should try to get your nose on it. And if you like the dry down of Chanel's Le Lion, I think that Ambre Aurea is a great fragrance to consider. So for me, the reason that I purchased it, it has two different uses, in my opinion. So that's the number one reason why it's not redundant to have the two fragrances. To me, this is an everyday, easy to wear amber fragrance. And so that's why, to me, if Le Lion is reserved for going out and a special occasion, then I feel like I have something that smells similar to Le Lion or the dry down of Le Lion. And I'm in love with Chanel's Le Lion. So I thought, why not have something that reminds me of it, and I can feel freer and use this more liberally on an everyday basis because I won't reach for Le Lion on an everyday basis. So that's where this fits into my perfume collection. And if you haven't smelled it, I think you should get your nose on this one. So that's Ambre Aurea by Profumum Roma. So that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed my discussion on these great amber fragrances. They are each so unique and they have something different to offer in someone's perfume collection, in my opinion. I enjoy all of them. Let me know what your thoughts are. If there are any ambers that you think that I should get my nose on that I haven't included here, leave them in the comments below. Until next time, bye guys.